Hello, and welcome to the People's Documentary. September 16th, 1962, marks the day we avoided nuclear war. The war between the United States and the Soviet Union was led by President Kennedy and Nikita Khrushchev, but also involved Cuba, which was led by Fidel Castro in 1945. The United States held the power of nuclear weapon, and in 1949, Russia had the same advantage. As this crisis began, Kennedy was faced with many different ways to approach the situation.
There was much confusion and more than one solution to stop going into nuclear war. There were many encounters with the president and cabinet members to discuss their plans. The United States sent out warning messages to the citizens.
I was an only child. I remember my family discussing where the first one would be launched. I was so afraid. Some of us were afraid that even the Cubans would be put into camps like the Japanese were in World War II. We were preparing with duck and cover drills constantly.
There were many decisions made by the military officials without people knowing.
All I remember was seeing Russian military come through our homes. We were all so scared and clueless as to what was happening, but I was so scared for the end of the world.
The United States sent U-2 planes over the Soviet Union and found surface-to-air missile launch sites. They were planning to go over Cuba as well, but Kennedy was told they would be fired upon. By discovering so, he rerouted the plan to go around Cuba, but they fired anyway. I was given my orders and I followed them. No one dared to question Castro and his orders. There was no other information than to fire on the U-2 planes. September 16, 1962 was the day that the United States agreed to stay out of Cuba as long as the Russians took their nuclear weapons out, and in June of 1963, President Kennedy gave a speech about peace and avoiding war in the first place.
Good evening, my fellow citizens. This government has maintained a closer surveillance of the Soviet military built upon the island of Cuba. Within the past week, unmistakable evidence has established the fact that a series of offensive missile sites is now in preparation on the imprisoned purpose of these bases can be none other than to provide a nuclear strike capability against the Western Hemisphere. That our surveillance must be stepped up. My fellow citizens, let no one doubt that this is a difficult and dangerous effort on which we have set out. No one can foresee precisely what course it will take or what cost or casualties will be incurred. Many months in which both our patience and our will be tested. Months in which many threats and denunciations will keep us aware of our dangers. Our goal is not the victory of might, but the vindication of right. Not a peace at the expense of freedom, but both peace and freedom. Here in the hemisphere, and we hope around the world. God willing that our goal will be achieved. Thank you and good night.
On October 26, Kennedy received a letter from Khrushchev regarding that if the United States stayed out of Cuba, they would take out their missile, as well as a demand to take out the United States nuclear bases in Turkey. This is an obstruction. You shouldn't be allowed to protect Cuba from nothing. For what reason do you have to put missile launch bases in Cuba?
We feel that you should take out the missile launch sites in Turkey. We're here as a defense from the U.S.
We're here for our own protection.
No one asked you to be in this war. No one invited you into the war.
We're making it so that the world can be kept equal. The world can be a safe place. We must reach for an ultimatum.
I don't want to.
But we must.
So as time went on, the United States and the Soviet Union refrained from nuclear war. This agreement arose by the mutual destruction to the world. This agreement meant that when one nation was to fire on the other, they would fire as well, causing a world of nuclear damage. This documentary is sponsored by Disney. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you for joining us in another edition of People's Documentary. Join us next time.